So I think as long as you have enough money to eat, have a roof over your head, and have a moderate means of transportation and sort of the basic things in this world, I think that's all that matters. And that's going to depend on where you are and what you're doing. But everything above that is really just slush funds and helps you do other things like grow opportunities and things like that. But everything else, the sort of things that we squabble over, they don't matter that much. They really don't. I've lived, as a PhD student, you don't live with a lot of money. And I lived like that for a long time as a student. And we lived the exact same way that we live today. Like, the only difference for us anyways is that, every once in a while we get to do some fancier vacation and things like that. But, for the most part, it was just as good, having less money as it is now. Now, does that mean that there was not a lot of stress with that income and, fighting and stuff like that? So there was. We fought a lot about, finances and things like that. It was a really stressful time for us. So I was married with my wife. She was working. She wasn't making. She was just fresh out of school and wasn't making that much. And it was a really stressful time. But I think it was more of a stressful time for us figuring each other out. It wasn't the money. That was that was kind of a symptom of what was going on. And once you sort of figure each out and your personalities, by the way, it takes a long time. You're always figuring that stuff out, but more so when you're first starting out. You have to remember that you're okay either way. And I've always had that particular view. Of course, you have to, when you live in a family, you're living with other people that have different views and things like that. But, that's the key, is knowing that you're going to be fine with what you have. You actually don't need a heck of a lot. Everything else is just extra stuff. And once you get that perspective, you actually live pretty darn good. And then once you get that perspective, you're able to save. You're able to do all sorts of things that you couldn't possibly do or you didn't think that you'd be doing, because it doesn't mean that much. Because what's going to happen? Inevitably, what's going to happen, everybody's goes like this, is that when you start out, you actually don't make a heck of a lot of money. But as you get older, get more experience, the world just gives you more. It just does. And, you could say that's because of skill development, all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's just, hey, if you just chill a little bit, good things are going to happen. I'm not going to say, not to negotiate and all of that kind of stuff. But no, a huge part of what we do has to remember that, hey, we have to chill. That negotiation that you're doing, if you need to do it, it's only going to happen, it's going to happen once a year, or maybe it's once every 3 years. But then the rest of it, you got to chill and just be happy with who you are. And I think once you get that straight, that you actually just don't need a heck of a lot. And I know you're going to say, well, it's easy for you to say, and yada, and I can't change that, right? Like, if you think that about me, that it's easy for me to say, then that's fine. then go about your merry way. But for me, once you realize that you're just as happy and you upscale. So here's the thing that's going to happen. You're going to upscale all this, stuff. And you're going to feel the exact same way that you felt when you didn't have that much stuff. And, I'm telling you this, it doesn't go away. How you feel about yourself, all of those things, doesn't go away. It just doesn't, right? Like it's something that's built into you. And you can try to, escape or try to sort of show to other people, whatever you're trying to do, that you've made it or you're there. You can't fix that. The feeling's gonna be there, right? You get a jumbo jet, the next person next to you gets a bigger jumbo jet, and you're gonna have to get the same thing. You have to take a step back and realize, what are we actually doing here? What's the outcome? Once you realize that, hey, not much is gonna change. Once I'm fine, once I have those sort of basic things covered, and you don't need a lot, right? Like once you're able to, a good measure of this is you can buy a hamburger, go out for a hamburger maybe once a week. And once you're able to buy a hamburger once a week without stressing about it too much, like you have to plan for that, right? Without stressing about it that much, then you're fine. Until you get to that stage, it's sort of hamburger rule, then you should be worried about it, right? And sort of pushing and grabbing and clawing. But then at the end of it, once you get to that point where you can afford a hamburger every week, you're fine. And you should realize that everything else is set and the rest of it, it's just a game. So, just remember that it's all just a game, and, take a step back and realize you're good. You're going to be fine. As long as you can get a hamburger once a week, it's all that matters. All right, take care. Have a wonderful day.